Malaysian Airline System is a major airline operating flights from Kuala Lumpur International Airport and from secondary hubs in Kota Kinabalu and Kuching to destinations throughout Asia as well as a handful of destinations in Europe and Oceania. Malaysia Airlines is the flag carrier of Malaysia. It is a member of the Oneworld Airline Alliance. The company's headquarters are located on the grounds of Sultan Abdul Aziz Shah Airport in Subang, Selangor, Greater Kuala Lumpur. In August 2014, the Malaysian government's sovereign wealth fund Khazanah Nasional Euro, which then owned 69.37% of the airline Euro, announced its intention to purchase remaining ownership from minority shareholders and delist the airline from Malaysia's stock exchange, thereby renationalising the airline. Trade in the airline's stock was suspended before the announcement, and Khazanah Nasional intends to delist Malaysia Airlines from the stock exchange. Malaysia Airlines owns two subsidiary airlines, Firefly and Maswings. Firefly operates scheduled flights from its two home bases, Penang International Airport and Subang International Airport. The airline focuses on tertiary cities. Maswings focuses on inter-Borneo flights. Malaysia Airlines has a freighter fleet operated by Mascaro, which manages freighter flights and aircraft cargo hold capacity for all Malaysia Airlines passenger flights. Mas Charter is another subsidiary of Malaysia Airlines, operating charter flights using Malaysia Airlines aircraft. Malaysia Airlines also provides aircraft maintenance, repair and overhaul, and aircraft handling services to other companies. The airline began as Malayan Airways Limited and flew its first commercial flight in 1947. A few years after Singapore's independence, the airline's assets were divided in 1972 to form Singaporean flag carrier Singapore Airlines and Malaysian flag carrier Malaysian Airline System. Despite numerous awards from aviation industry, such as the prestigious 5-star rating from Skytrax and recognition from the World Travel Awards as the leading airline in and to Asia, the airline struggled to cut costs to compete with new, low-cost carriers in the region since the early 2000s. In 2013, the airline initiated a turnaround plan after large losses beginning in 2011 and cut routes to prominent, but unprofitable, long-haul destinations, such as the Americas and South Africa. Malaysia Airlines also began an internal restructuring and intended to sell units such as engineering and pilot training. However, the disappearance and presumed crash of Flight 370 in March 2014 in mysterious circumstances shook consumer confidence in the airline, with bookings and stock prices declining. Just 4 months later, Flight 17 was shot down over eastern Ukraine. Despite being a well-traveled route by major airlines and primary fault resting in the unidentified operators of the surface-to-air missile, MAS received public criticism for traveling over the conflict zone. The losses totaled 537 passengers and crew in two Boeing 777-200ER aircraft. Prior to 2014, MAS had one of the world's best safety records, just 2 fatal accidents and 68 years of operation, including a hijacking in 1977 that resulted in 100 deaths. History: in 1947, the airline began as Malayan Airways, being renamed Malaysian Airways after Malaysia gained independence. After that, it changed its name once more to Malaysia Singapore Airlines. MSA ceased operations in 1972, and two airlines were born: Malaysian Airline System and Singapore Airlines. Malay aviation history: scheduled air passenger and mail services in Malaya commenced in 1937 when Wings Air Service commenced operating services between Singapore, Kuala Lumpur and Penang. Wings Air Service was started by two Australian brothers, Theodore and Charles Wins. The service commenced as a thrice-weekly flight between Singapore and Penang. The first flight, using an 8-seater de Havilland DH-89A Dragon Rapide, took place on June 28, 1937. This inaugural flight departed Singapore from the then brand new Kallang Airport, which had just opened earlier in the same month on June 12. Later a second DH-89A enabled the expansion to daily services as well as the addition of Ipoh as a destination. The WAS services ceased with the onset of the World War II Japanese occupation of Malaya and Singapore. Beginnings. an initiative by the Alfred Holt's Liverpool-based Ocean Steamship Company, in partnership with the Straits Steamship Company and Imperial Airways, resulted in the incorporation in Singapore on October 12, 1937, Malayan Airways Limited. But the first paying passengers could be welcomed on board only some 10 years later. After the war, MAL was restructured to include just the partnership of Straits Steamship and Ocean Steamship. The airline's first flight was a charter flight from the British Straits settlement of Singapore to Kuala Lumpur, on April 2, 1947, using an airspeed Consul twin-engined aircraft. This inaugural flight on the Raja Udang, with only 5 passengers, departed Singapore's Kallang Airport and was bound for Kuala Lumpur's Sungai Besi Airport. Weekly scheduled flights quickly followed from Singapore to Kuala Lumpur, Ipoh and Penang from May 1, 1947 with the same aircraft type. The airline continued to expand during the rest of the 1940s and 1950s, as other British Commonwealth Airlines provided technical assistance, as well as assistance in joining IATA. By 1955, Malayan Airways fleet had grown to include a large number of Douglas DC-3s, and went public in 1957. Other aircraft operated in the first 2 decades included the Douglas DC-4 Skymaster, the Vickers Viscount, the Lockheed L-1049 Super Constellation, the Bristol Britannia, the de Havilland Comet 4 and the Fokker F-27. Over the next few years, the airline expanded rapidly, boosted by post-war air travel demand when flying became more than a privilege for the rich and famous. By April 12, 1960, the airline was operating Douglas DC-3s, Super Constellations and Viscounts on new routes from Singapore to Hong Kong, and from Kuala Lumpur to Bangkok via Penang. Flights were also introduced from Singapore to cities in the Borneo territories, including Brunei, Sultan, Kuching, Sandakan and Cebu. With the delivery of an 84-seat Bristol Britannia in 1960, the airline launched its first long-haul international flight, to Hong Kong. When Malaya, Singapore, Sabah and Sarawak formed the Federation of Malaysia in 1963, the airline's name was changed, from Malayan Airways to Malaysian Airways. MAL also took over Borneo Airways. In 1966, following Singapore's separation from the Federation, the airline's name was changed again, to Malaysia Singapore Airlines. The next year saw a rapid expansion in the airline's fleet and routes, including the purchase of MSA's first Boeing aircraft, the Boeing 707s, as well as completion of a new high-rise headquarters in Singapore. Boeing 737s were added to the fleet soon afterward. Incorporation. The differing needs of the two shareholders, however, led to the breakup of the airline just 6 years later. The Singapore government preferred to develop the airline's international routes, while the Malaysian government had no choice but to develop the domestic network first before going regional and eventually international. MSA ceased operations in 1972, with its assets split between 2 new airlines, Malaysian Airline System, and Singapore Airlines. With the Singapore government determined to develop Singapore Airlines' international routes, it took the entire fleet of 7 Boeing 707s and 5 Boeing 737s, which would allow it to continue servicing its regional and long-haul international routes. Since most of MSA's international routes were flown out of Singapore, the majority of international routes were in the hands of Singapore Airlines. In addition, MSA's headquarters, which was located in Singapore, became the headquarters of that airline. The initials MSA were well regarded as an airline icon, and both carriers tried to use them. Malaysian went for MAS by just transposing the last 2 letters and choosing the name Malaysian Airline System, while Singapore originally proposed the name Mercury Singapore Airlines to keep the MSA initials, but changed its mind and went for SIA instead. Acronyms for airline names later became less fashionable, and both carriers then moved on to their descriptive names. Expansion. Malaysian Airline System took all domestic routes within Malaysia and international routes out of that country, as well as the remaining fleet of Fokker F-27s. It began flights on October 1, 1972 and soon expanded, including introducing flights from Kuala Lumpur to London. In that year MAS operated flights to more than 34 regional destinations and 6 international services. In 1976, after receiving its DC-10-30 aircraft, MAS scheduled flights reached Europe, with initial flights from Kuala Lumpur to Amsterdam, Paris and Frankfurt. An economic boom in Malaysia during the 1980s spurred growth at Malaysia Airlines. By the end of the decade MAS was flying to 47 overseas destinations, including 8 European destinations, 7 Oceania destinations, and United States destinations of Los Angeles and Honolulu. In 1993 Malaysia Airlines reached South America when the airline received its Boeing 747 aircraft. MAS became the first airline in Southeast Asia to serve South America via its flights to Buenos Aires, Argentina. Malaysia Airlines also flew to Mexico City between 1994 and 1998 with fifth freedom rights to carry passengers between Mexico City and Los Angeles, en route to Kuala Lumpur. First period of unprofitability. Prior to the Asian financial crisis in 1997, the airline suffered losses of as much as $260 million after earning a record-breaking $333 million profit in the financial year 1996/1997. The airline then introduced measures to bring its P&L back into the black. For the financial year 1999/2000, the airline cut its losses from $700 million in the year 1998/1999 to $259 million. However, the airline plunged into further losses in the following year, amounting to $417 million in FY 2000/2001 and $836 million in FY 2001/2002. With these losses, the airline cut many unprofitable routes, such as Brussels, Darwin, Madrid, Munich and Vancouver. The airline recovered from its losses in the year 2002/2003. It achieved its then highest profit in the year 2003/2004, totaling $461 million. Second period of unprofitability. In the year 2005, Malaysia Airlines reported a loss of $100 billion. Revenue for the financial period was up by 10.3% or $82669 million, compared to the same period for 2004, driven by a 10.2% growth in passenger traffic. International passenger revenue increased by $45776 million or 8.4%, to $500 billion, while cargo revenue decreased by $6400 million or 4.2%, to $100 billion. Costs increased by 28.8% or $200 billion, amounting to a total of $100 billion, primarily due to escalating fuel prices. Other cost increases included staff costs, handling and landing fees, aircraft maintenance and overhaul charges, widespread assets unbundling charges and leases. The government of Malaysia appointed Idris Jalla as the new CEO on December 1, 2005, to execute changes in operations and corporate culture. Several weaknesses in airline operations were identified as the causes of the $100 billion loss. These included escalating fuel prices, increased maintenance and repair costs, staff costs, low yield per available seat kilometre via poor yield management and an inefficient route network. Under the leadership of Idris Jalla, Malaysia Airlines launched its business turnaround plan in 2006, developed using the government-linked Company Transformation Manual as a guide. The most substantial factor in the losses was fuel costs. For the period, the total fuel cost was $300 billion, representing a 40.4% increase compared to the same period in 2004. Total fuel cost increases comprised $97778 million due to higher fuel prices and another $15776 million due to additional consumption. In the third quarter, fuel costs were $126 billion, compared to the $101 billion in the corresponding period in 2004. Resulting in a 24.6% increase or $24993 million. Another factor for the losses was poor revenue management. MAS substantially lagged its peers on yield. Some of this gap was due to differences in traffic mix, with less business traffic to and from Malaysia than to and from Singapore, but much of it was due to weaknesses in pricing and revenue management, sales and distribution, brand presence in foreign markets, and alliance base. Malaysia Airlines has one of the lowest labour costs per ASK at 41 cents, compared to other airlines such as Cathay Pacific and Singapore Airlines at 59 cents and 60 cents respectively. However, despite low labour costs, the ratio of ASK revenue to this cost was, at 2.8, much lower than Singapore Airlines, where the ratio is 5.0, and slightly higher than Thai Airways. There are other factors listed in the business turnaround plan of Malaysia Airlines, all leading to the net loss of $100 billion in the year 2005. Recovery from unprofitability. Under the various initiatives, launched together with the business turnaround plan, Malaysia Airlines switched from losses to profitability between FY 2006 and FY 2007. When the business turnaround plan came to an end, the airline posted a record profit of $853 million, $265 million in 2007, ending a series of losses since 2005. The result exceeded the target of $300 million by 184%. Route rationalising was one of the major contributors to the airline's return to profitability. Malaysia Airlines pared its domestic routes from 114 to 23. And also cancelled virtually all unprofitable international routes. Apart from that, Malaysia Airlines also rescheduled all of its flight timings and changed its operations model from point-to-point services to hub-and-spoke services. Additionally, the airline started Project Omega and Project Alpha to improve the company's network and revenue management. Emphasis has been placed on 6 areas: pricing, revenue management, network scheduling, opening storefronts, low-season strategy and distribution management. Malaysia Airlines has been involved in discussions for new aircraft purchases, using its cash surplus of $500 billion to eventually purchase narrow-body aircraft and wide-body aircraft. Despite these achievements, critics continue to deride the carrier for lagging behind its competitors in the region. This notion is not helped by the fact Malaysia Airlines has not made substantial investments in customer service, especially compared to Thai Airways or Singapore Airlines. On December 22, 2009, Malaysia Airlines announced the purchase of 15 new Airbus A330 aircraft, with options for another 10. Expected to be delivered between 2011 and 2016, they are intended to operate on medium-haul routes to Eastern Asia, Australia, and the Middle East. The airline's plans are to run Airbus A380 planes, which will be introduced into service in 2012, on long-haul routes, A330s on medium-haul routes, and Boeing 737 aircraft on short-haul routes. Under this plan, it is unclear where Boeing wide-bodies currently in the fleet would fall. Third, unprofitability. Malaysia Airlines recorded a stunning net loss of 2.52 billion Malaysian ringgits for the full year 2011 due to rising fuel costs and mismanagement, which was the largest in its company history. A major restructuring to the board of the company saw the appointment of a new group chief executive officer. Ahmad Jawari Ayah was appointed as group CEO in September 2011. One of the first initiatives to stop the losses was a rationalization of the network. The company suspended services to Surabaya, Karachi, Dubai, Dammam and Johannesburg in January 2012, and ceased flights to Cape Town, Buenos Aires as well as Rome in February 2012. Business turnaround plan. On February 28, 2013, Ahmad Jawari Ayah, Group Chief Executive Officer of Malaysia Airlines, reported a net profit of $51.00 million for the fourth quarter, reversing the net loss of $100 billion a year earlier. MA's improved financial performance last year was mainly attributable to its route rationalization program, which saw an overall 8% reduction in available seat kilometre. This was matched by a marginal 1% reduction in revenue to $13376 billion in 2012 and seat factor holding at 74.5%. The reduced ASK also helped MAS register a corresponding 14% decrease in expenditure. 2014 aircraft losses and government takeover. In 2014, Malaysia Airlines lost 2 Boeing 777 aircraft within 131 days, with a total of 537 passengers and crew lost. Flight 370 disappeared in an unknown location on 8 March with 239 persons aboard, leaving little evidence behind. No debris from the plane had been found. Flight 17 crashed near Donetsk in eastern Ukraine on 17 July with 298 passengers and crew, after it was believed to have been hit with a surface-to-air missile. Malaysia Airlines was struggling to cut costs to compete with a wave of new, low-cost carriers in the region when Flight 370 vanished on 8 March 2014 without a distress signal. Malaysia Airlines lost room 44,334 million in the first quarter of 2014. In the previous 3 years, Malaysia Airlines had booked losses of room 117 billion in 2013, room 433 million in 2012, and room 200 billion in 2011. Industry analysts expect Malaysia Airlines to lose further market share and face a challenging environment to stand out from competitors while addressing their financial plight. The company's stock, down as much as 20% following the disappearance of Flight 370, had fallen 80% over the previous 5 years, which contrasts with a rise in the Malaysian stock market of about 80% over the same period. A month after the disappearance, Malaysia Airlines chief executive Ahmad Jawari acknowledged that ticket sales had declined but failed to provide specific details. This may partially result from the suspension of the airline's advertisement campaigns following the disappearance. In China, where the majority of passengers were from, bookings on Malaysia Airlines were down 60% in March. Mr. Ahmad stated in an interview with the Wall Street Journal that the airline's primary focus is that we do take care of the families in terms of their emotional needs and also their financial needs. It is important that we provide answers for them. It is important that the world has answers, as well. In further remarks, Mr. Ahmad said he wasn't sure when the airline could start repairing its image, but that the airline was adequately insured to cover the financial loss stemming from Flight 370's disappearance. Even before the crash of Flight 17, many analysts and the media suggested that Malaysia Airlines would need to rebrand and repair its image and/or require government assistance to return to profitability. On August 8, Khazanah Nasional, the majority shareholder and a Malaysian state-run investment arm, announced a 1.38 billion ringgit buyback of shares from minority shareholders and requested that the company be delisted from the Malaysia Stock Exchange. Khazanah Nasional did not announce much about its plans for the airline except that the airline had a substantial funding requirements and that a comprehensive review and restructuring was needed. Corporate information: Malaysia Airlines is listed on the stock exchange of Bursa Malaysia under the name Malaysian Airline System Berhad. The airline suffered high losses over the years due to poor management and fuel price increases. As a result of financial restructuring in 2002, led by Bina Fikir, Penerbangan Malaysia Berhad became its parent company, incorporated in 2002, in exchange for assuming the airline's long-term liabilities. On the operational side, the government of Malaysia appointed Idris Jalla as the new CEO on December 1, 2005, to execute changes in operations and corporate culture. Under his leadership, Malaysia Airlines unveiled its business turnaround plan in February 2006, which identified low yield, an inefficient network and low productivity. The airline headquarters building in downtown Kuala Lumpur was sold. The new corporate headquarters is now at the MAS complex on the grounds of Sultan Abdul Aziz Shah Airport in Subang, Selangor. Following the widespread asset unbundling restructuring of Malaysia Airlines, Malaysian government investment arm and holding company, Khazanah Nasional subsidiary, Penerbangan Malaysia Berhad is the majority shareholder with a 52.0% stake. After Penerbangan Malaysia Berhad, the second largest shareholder is Khazanah Nasional, which holds 17.33% of the shares. Minority shareholders include Employees Provident Fund Board, Amanah Raya Nominees SDN-BHD, State Financial Secretaries Sarawak, foreign shareholders and Warisan Harta Sabah. It has 19,546 employees. The Malaysian government reported that the government's holding company, Khazanah Nasional is keen on selling shares of Malaysia Airlines to remain globally competitive in an industry which is fast consolidating. Head office: the airline has its headquarters and registered office on the third floor of Administration Building A at Sultan Abdul Aziz Shah Airport in Subang, Selangor, in Greater Kuala Lumpur. The head office is located near Terminal 3 of the airport. Previously the airline headquarters were on the third floor of the MAS Administrative Complex at Subang Airport, in Subang. Prior to the construction of the Kuala Lumpur MAS headquarters, the airline rented space in the UMBC headquarters. The airline had a permanent corporate headquarters in the Bangunan MAS, a 34 to 36-story building it owned along Jalan Sultan Ismail, in the Golden Triangle. The airline occupied 20 stories in the building. The building was built for $88 million. In 2005 the Star said that the building was reported to be worth between $300 million and $350 million. At one time before 2005 the airline chairperson, Raja Tun Moar, made an oral promise to Tun Abdul Razak of the Government of Malaysia that the airline would not sell its headquarters. The airline had 600 employees in the building. In 2006, the airline moved its head office from the Kuala Lumpur building to the former headquarters in Subang, in order to reduce inefficiencies and generate cash. Channel News Asia stated that the airline had been forced to sell the former headquarters. Idris Jalla, the managing director, said that the sale could net $3 billion. In the event it did not, the airline would try to rent out the floors it occupied. The first phase was scheduled to occur from January to March of that year, with the chairperson, executive director, managing director, company secretary, corporate communication officer, and finance communication officer moving to the Subang facility. In June 2006, Phase 2 was planned as a move for the distribution, marketing, and sales divisions of the company, to Administration Block 3. Around 2007 Penerbangan Nasional (BHD) purchased Bangunan MAS from the airline. The new owners plan to remodel the building, by installing a 5-star hotel apartment block and upgrade the offices to Grade A++. The airline planned to relocate its headquarters from Sultan Abdul Aziz Shah Airport to Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Subang, Selangor in Greater Kuala Lumpur in February 2012. Subsidiaries: Malaysia Airlines has diversified into related industries and sectors, including aircraft ground handling, aircraft leasing, aviation engineering, air catering, and tour operator operations. It has also restructured itself by spinning off operational units as fully owned subsidiaries to maintain its core business as a passenger airline. In 2013, Malaysia Airlines has 28 subsidiaries, with 25 of them fully owned by Malaysia Airlines. Some of the subsidiaries include: Financial highlights: Malaysia Airlines experienced a $125 billion loss in FY 2005. Since then, the business turnaround plan was introduced to revive the airline, in the year 2006. At the end of the airline's turnaround program, in financial year 2007, Malaysia Airlines gained $851 million net profit, a swing of $987 million compared to $134 million in losses in FY 2006, marking the national carrier a Euro unregistered trademark's highest ever profit in its 60-year history. The achievement was recognized as the World a Euro unregistered trademark's best airline turnaround story in 2007, with Malaysia Airlines being awarded the Phoenix Award by Penton Media's Air Transport World, the leading monthly magazine covering the global airline industry. Branding: from the late 1990s up to 2007, Malaysia Airlines used the "Going Beyond Expectations" slogan to brand itself internationally. With the rollout of the business transformation plan in 2008, the CEO of Malaysia Airlines rejected the idea of using MH's network or certain other features as its new branding strategy. Instead, the new branding strategy slogan is MH's Malaysian Hospitality, to emphasize the hospitality of its cabin crew instead of the airline's network and cabin classes. Corporate image: Malaysia Airlines introduced the sarong kebaya design on March 1, 1986 for female flight attendants. It was designed by the School of Fashion at Mara Institute of Technology and later known as Mara University of Technology. The batik material depicts the keloroi motif, which is a bamboo weave pattern. It appears in the background in subdued hues of the basic uniform color. Superimposed on the keloroi motif is a mixture of Malaysian flora, such as the cempaka, jasmine and the leaves of the hibiscus. The geometric Sarawakian motif is used for the lapels of the baju, edges of sleeves and a sarong. On January 1, 1993, the colors of the batik were enhanced to complement the color of the new uniform. The male flight attendants wear grey-colored jackets. Cabin staff. The airline received the World Best Cabin Crew Award by Skytrax in 2012, bringing home the international accolade 8 times since 2001. Corporate logo. The history of the airline started in 1937, when Malaysian Airways Limited was registered as a company. Flying operations started in 1947, with the aircraft bearing the symbol of a winged tiger. In 1963, the airline was renamed Malaysian Airways Limited, when the Federation of Malaysia was formed. Subsequently, Borneo Airways Limited was absorbed by Malaysian Airways Limited. In 1965, with the political separation of Singapore from Malaysia, there was continued participation by the governments of Malaysia and Singapore in the airline. In 1967, the company changed its name to Malaysia Singapore Airline Limited, which was the joint national air carrier for both countries, and a new logo was introduced. In 1971, Malaysia Singapore Airline Limited was separated into two airlines, each with its own policies and objectives, leading to the birth of Malaysia's flag carrier, Malaysian Airline System, on April 3, 1971. The name was chosen because, in abbreviated form, MAS in Malay means gold, to symbolize quality service. A new corporate logo designed by Dato' Joan Arif was introduced on October 15, 1987, retaining the essence of the moon kite, with a sheared swept-back look. Along with the new corporate logo, a new type style, Malaysia, was created. It is italicized to slant parallel with the logo to accentuate speed as well as direction. Within this corporate type style, the letters MAS bear red clippings to denote the initials of the statutory name of the airline, Malaysian Airline System, and were added after the original design was rejected by former Prime Minister Tun Drive Mahathir. The introduction of blue to the original red logo has national significance. The red and blue divides equally in the middle to denote equilibrium. On March 8, 2012, Malaysia Airlines unveiled a new logo featuring a totally blue WOW and livery for its Airbus A380 fleet. Months later, the corporate logo of red and blue WOW was refreshed. The WOW now faces from left to right, as it did in the original 1971 logo, and its tails have been extended. The word mark has been modernized with a new typeface and the word airlines is now presented in lowercase. Alliance. In August 2011, Malaysia Airlines agreed to collaborate with AirAsia through a share swap. The share swap between Malaysia Airlines' major shareholder and that of AirAsia was later undone in May 2012 due to resistance from certain quarters of his staff. On February 1, 2013, Malaysia Airlines became a member of the Oneworld Airline Alliance, whose members include American Airlines, British Airways, Qantas, Cathay Pacific and Japan Airlines. Mahbudi Social Networking Service. In 2011 Malaysia Airlines introduced a social seating plan that allows passengers to pick seatmates before their flight. The plan lets passengers share their social network profiles and photos with other passengers on the same flight. Destinations. Before the introduction of the business turnaround plan, Malaysia Airlines operated 118 domestic routes within Malaysia and 114 international routes across 6 continents. Malaysia Airlines now flies to 60 destinations across Southeast Asia, North and South Asia, the Middle East, Australasia and Europe. Its primary hub is in Kuala Lumpur. It has a particularly strong presence in the Southeast Asia region, which, together with its subsidiary Maswings and Firefly, connects Kuala Lumpur to the most destinations in Borneo Island. Apart from that, the airline has a key role in the Kangaroo route, on which the airline provides onward connecting flights from main European gateways to major Australian and New Zealand gateways via Kuala Lumpur International Airport, within 5 hours. Under the business turnaround plan, numerous routes were axed and frequencies reduced. As of September 2007, Malaysia Airlines flies to 88 destinations. In cooperation with codeshare partner airlines, the airline serves more than 100 destinations worldwide. It was the first airline in Southeast Asia to fly to South Africa, following the demise of apartheid, and the only airline in Southeast Asia that served South America via South Africa until 2012. In 2006, it suspended its routes to Manchester, Vienna, Fukuoka, Sindh, Nagoya, Xi'an, Cairo, Kolkata, Ahmedabad and Zar-1/4 under its business turnaround plan. Malaysia Airlines also owns its own charter flight division. Malaysia Airlines charter flights have flown to destinations around the world, such as Guilin, which was previously one of Malaysia Airlines' scheduled destinations, and Christmas Island. Malaysia Airlines has also been the official airline for the Manchester United Asian Tour. It also has a substantial haulage operation. Malaysia Airlines applied for approval to launch 3 weekly Kota Kinabalu and Tokyo Haneda service with Boeing 737-800, effective November 15, 2010. After receiving regulatory approval, Malaysia Airlines adjusted its Tokyo operations. All Kuala Lumpur and Tokyo traffic departed and arrived in Narita, and Kota Kinabalu and Tokyo traffic operated from Haneda. The airline ended operations at Tokyo Haneda Airport on February 1, 2012. In 2012, it suspended services to Cape Town, Dubai, Johannesburg, Buenos Aires, Rome, Dammam, Karachi and Surabaya due to unprofitability. In addition, the airline also suspended 4 destinations, Tokyo, Osaka, Perth and Seoul from Kota Kinabalu. The airline has also reinstated some routes from Kota Kinabalu such as Perth, Osaka and Tokyo which began on October 28, 2013. Flights from Kota Kinabalu to Shanghai Pudong have begun, effectively reviving Kota Kinabalu's status as a hub. Codeshare agreements. Malaysia Airlines has codeshare agreements with the following airlines. Fleet. As of July 2014, Malaysia Airlines operates the following aircraft at an average age of 4.3 years. Services. Malaysia Airlines operates a fleet of aircraft with 2 cabin and 3 class configurations. The 777-200 fleet has a 2-cabin configuration, with Golden Club class and Economy class. The Airbus A380 fleet has a 3-cabin configuration, also including first class. The Airbus A330-300, and Boeing 737-800 aircraft have a 2-cabin configuration. All Airbus A380-800, Airbus A330-300, and Boeing 737-800 fleets have new cabin seats and in-flight entertainment while all Boeing 777-200 fleets have the older cabin seats and entertainment. Airport Lounge. The Golden Lounge is the airport lounge for Malaysia Airlines First Class, Golden Club class passengers and Enrich Platinum and Enrich Gold, eligible Oneworld and codeshare partner members. The Golden Lounges have open bars and food catering. There are 11 Golden Lounges throughout the world, and qualified passengers have full reciprocal privileges at lounges operated by selected partners. The lounge offers various services such as business centers, food catering, slumber rooms and childcare centers. Lounges are maintained at the following airports: Kuala Lumpur, Kota Kinabalu, Kuching, London, Melbourne, Penang, Perth, Singapore. In April 2008, the airline launched its new regional Golden Lounge at the KL International Airport for regional-bound front-end passengers. With this new lounge, Malaysia Airlines at Kuala Lumpur International Airport now has 3 lounges: the Satellite International Terminal Lounge, Domestic Lounge and Regional Lounge. Cabin. All of Malaysia Airlines aircraft have an economy and a business class section. First class is only present on Airbus A380 aircraft. Babies are banned from first class. First class. First class is offered only on the Airbus A380 on routes to Hong Kong International Airport, London Heathrow and Paris Charles de Gaulle. Malaysia Airlines offers the widest first-class fully flat seats in the sky on its A380 aircraft. The A380s feature 8 semi-enclosed suites with a 23-inch flat-screen television. Business class is available on all of Malaysia Airlines' fleet. In 2011, Malaysia Airlines introduced the new business class seats on their brand new Airbus A330-300. While newer regional business class seats were also introduced on the Boeing 737-800 to be used on short medium-haul routes such as Kota Kinabalu, Taipei and Manila. Seats made by Recaro within the business class cabin of new A330-300 are configured in pairs layout, fitted within seat power and USB port, as well as new Select 3000i on a 15.40 inches touchscreen panel, while the Boeing 737-800 are fitted in pairs inclusive of the new Select 3000i and of reclinability. The first Airbus A330-300 carrying the new regional business class was assigned to Kuala Lumpur, Brisbane sector on April 20, 2011. Economy class is available on all of Malaysia Airlines' fleet. Seats feature a pitch of 33-34 inches and width of 17-17.25 inches, while the newer fleets such as the Airbus A380, Airbus A330-300 and Boeing 737-800 feature seat pitch of 30-32 inches and width of 17-17.5 inches. On the Boeing 777-200, it has a 6.5 inches personal TV located behind each seat, and a footrest located below the seat in front. The leased 737-800 has no personal TV but overhead TVs located in the aisles of the plane and feature a seat pitch of 29-30 inches. The new A330-300 as well as the new 737-800 all have the new Select 3000i. In 2010, Economy class was voted the world's best economy class at the 2010 World Airline Awards by Skytrax. Baby ban and child-free zone. Malaysia Airlines has attracted both criticism and praise for its controversial decision to prohibit children from travelling in certain classes or cabins of its aircraft. Infants are not permitted in first class on Malaysia Airlines Airbus A380 due to the non-availability of baby bassinets in the cabin. Malaysia Airlines Managing Director and CEO Tengku Azmil explained the policy in a Twitter post, saying the airline received complaints from first-class passengers that they spend money on first class and can't sleep due to crying infants. MAS subsequently claimed that an upgrade of the first-class cabin to fit new seats and an ottoman meant there was no facility for positioning bassinets in the first class of the 747s. However, Azmil later said it was possible for MAS to fit bassinets to the first-class sections of his 747-400s. But many people complain about it. Malaysia Airlines has also stated that children under the age of May 12 not travel in the 70-seat upper deck economy section of the A380. The economy seats on upper level will be allocated for business travellers. Passengers accompanying children under 12 years old age will be excluded from booking these seats. MAS says the decision is to showcase the economy class zone in the main deck, enhanced and designated as a family and children-friendly in-flight zone. From the perspective of customers traveling with their families, the economy class family-friendly convenience would be a warm welcome. The main deck has more facilities such as toilets and the dual-era bridge airport facilities supporting this deck will also mean a speedier, faster embarkation and disembarkation for this group of passengers. In-flight entertainment. Select is the in-flight entertainment system of Malaysia Airlines. There are three types of Select: Select 3000i, Select 3000i Portable Media Player and Select Main Screen. Select 3000i. All Malaysia Airlines Airbus A380, Airbus A330-300, new, Boeing 737-800 and 777-200ER aircraft are equipped with an in-flight entertainment system, Select 3000i with audio and video in 14 languages. A touchscreen personal TV is available on board Airbus A380, Airbus A330-300, new, Boeing 737-800 in first class and business class on Boeing 777-200ER aircraft. New deliveries of Airbus A330-300, new, and Boeing 737-800 aircraft will carry touchscreen-based Select 3000i. Select 3000i Portable Media Player. The Select 3000i Portable Media Player is provided to Malaysia Airlines business class passengers on selected regional and semi-long-haul Boeing 737-800 aircraft on North and South Asia routes. It allows passengers a choice of movies, TV shows and sports. Select Main Screen. Used in economy class on Boeing 737-800 regional and semi-long-haul aircraft, which features 15-inch drop-down retractable LCD screens, are installed at every fourth seat row in the economy class zone of the aircraft. In-Flight Magazine. Malaysia Airlines In-Flight Magazine is named Going Places is available on board. Frequent Flyer Programs. Malaysia Airlines Frequent Flyer Program is called Enrich by Malaysia Airlines. Enrich comprises a variety of airlines, banks, credit card issuers, hotels and retailers around the world. Enrich by Malaysia Airlines. On September 30, 1987, Malaysian Airline System introduced the Esteemed Traveller Frequent Flyer Program. In the early 1990s, Malaysia Airlines, Cathay Pacific, Thai Airways International and Singapore Airlines launched their joint Asian Frequent Flyer Program, Passages. The joint program was officially dissolved in 1999, and the Enrich Frequent Flyer Program made its debut after the split from Passages. Enhanced Enrich. On July 12, 2006, Malaysia Airlines introduced its Enhanced Enrich Frequent Flyer Program. The program is now known as Enrich by Malaysia Airlines. Member benefits and tiers. There are 4 levels of Enrich memberships: Euro Blue, Silver, Gold and Platinum. Each offers various privileges including priority check-in, priority standby and extra baggage allowance, amongst others. Miles can be accrued on qualifying Malaysia Airlines services, as well through partners, including airlines, hotels, car rental agencies and credit card companies. Miles accrued by members allow for redemption for free travel, free upgrades and other complimentary services. Now that Malaysia Airlines is a member of the Oneworld Alliance, your elite tier membership will have the corresponding Oneworld status, which allows you to take advantage of all the Oneworld top-tier privileges. Enrich members can look forward to greater rewards and privileges, earn and redeem Enrich miles whenever you fly with Oneworld member airlines and their affiliates, earn elite miles on all Oneworld member airlines and their affiliates for your tier status qualification, redeem multi-carrier flights via Oneworld member airlines and their affiliates, partners. Members of Enrich are able to accrue miles on qualifying flights through Malaysia Airlines and Enrich Airline Partners, Oneworld Alliance Airline Partners, Air France, Alitalia, Delta Airlines, Etihad Airways, Jet Airways, KLM, Sri Lankan Airlines, Virgin Atlantic, Firefly, Maswings. Non-airline partners include Hilton Hotels Corporation, Intercontinental Hotels Group, Avis Rent-A-Car System, the Hertz Corporation. Accidents and incidents. There have been 7 accidents and major incidents, several involving passenger fatalities or aircraft write-off on Malaysia Airlines, with a total of 432 confirmed fatalities and 239 suspected fatalities. December 4, 1977. Euro Malaysian Airline System Flight 653. A Boeing 737-200 registered 9MMBD was hijacked and crashed in Tanjung Kipang, Java, killing all 100 people on board. December 18, 1983. Euro Malaysian Airline System Flight 684, an Airbus A300 before leased from Scandinavian Airlines and registered OYKAA, crashed 2 kilometers short of the runway in Subang on a flight from Singapore. There were no fatalities, but the aircraft was written off. September 15, 1995. Euro Malaysia Airlines Flight 2133, a Fokker 50 registered 9MMGH touched down too far along the runway at Tuwai Airport, Sabah and crashed in a shanty town during the subsequent go-around. Of the 49 passengers and 4 crew on board, 32 passengers and 2 crew were killed. The probable cause was poor handling of the aircraft by the pilot. March 15, 2000 AA Malaysia Airlines Flight 85, an Airbus A330-300 registered 9mm KB was damaged by oxalyl chloride, which leaked from canisters during unloading after its arrival at Kuala Lumpur from Beijing, causing damage to the fuselage. The 5-year-old Airbus was sufficiently damaged to be written off. August 1, 2005 AA a Boeing 777-200ER registered 9mmRG operating Malaysia Airlines Flight 124 departed Perth for Kuala Lumpur. Climbing through 38,000 feet, a faulty accelerometer caused the aircraft's air data inertial reference unit to command changes of altitude. The flight crew overrode the ADIRU and manually returned to land the aircraft at Perth. The subsequent investigation led the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration to issue Emergency Airworthiness Directive 2005-18-51 on the fly-by-wire software. March 8, 2014 AA Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, a Boeing 777-200ER registered 9mmRO carrying 227 passengers and 12 crew, went missing on a flight from Kuala Lumpur International Airport to Beijing Capital International Airport. Although the whereabouts of the plane remain unknown, officials from both Malaysia Airlines and the Malaysian government believe that the plane was lost in the southern Indian Ocean and all 239 people on board perished. July 16, 2014 AA a Boeing 737-800 registered 9mmXG which was parked at Ninoy Aquino International Airport in the Philippines was damaged by Typhoon Ramasan. The strong winds caused it to move 45 degrees to its side, hitting the service stairs nearby. As a result, its fuselage suffered a puncture on the right side. July 17, 2014 AA Malaysia Airlines Flight 17. A Boeing 777-200ER registered 9mmRDA en route to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, from Amsterdam, Netherlands, was shot down over Ukraine. All 283 passengers and 15 crew members aboard were killed. See also: List of companies of Malaysia, List of airlines of Malaysia, List of airports in Malaysia, Transport in Malaysia, References. External links. Official website, Route map, Malaysia Airlines on Facebook, Malaysia Airlines channel on YouTube, Penerbangan Malaysia Berhad, parent company, Malaysian Airline System Berhad.